Welcome to the podcast about investing in startups, where existing investors can learn how to get the best deal possible. And those that have never before invested in startups can learn the keys to success from the venture experts. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is The Full Ratchet.
Welcome back to The Full Ratchet. On today's special segment of Investor Stories, the investors address trends, sectors, and markets that they think are positioned for outsized returns in the future. This is the segment called What's Next? On today's special segment, we have Scott Dorsey of High Alpha. Scott, can you tell us about sectors or trends that you're bullish on?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mention Emergence has been an amazing lead investor for us through Studio One and Studio Two, and Gordon Ritter in particular has a thesis around coaching networks, and they were really the lead investor behind Zoom. They've invested in a number of platforms like Chorus that are about building data sets and providing coaching to the users of the software around how to be better and better at what they do by using data, using machine learning. And I'd say that's a thesis that we've leaned really heavily into, is looking at markets where technology is not replacing people or jobs, but it can augment how well they do their job. So we put a lot of energy into markets where we can build data sets that are large and significant, and then use machine learning and data science, as evidence of us having a 3 or 4 person data science team to provide insights that can help workers operate better and generate kind of outsized returns for the work that they're doing. So that's a big theme of ours. I would say the other one is the whole notion of product-led growth, of how do you start small and provide value to the individual that can grow to the team, that can ultimately grow to the enterprise. And that's a very different way of building the business than how we built ExactTarget, but there are just countless examples of big breakout companies that have really followed that playbook. So the Zooms and Slacks and Atlassians of the world. I'm on the board of Pluralsight, an amazing company out in Utah. They've really, really done an amazing job building product that is simple to understand, easy to get started with. And then once you get started, you can really grow internally and grow organically within an organization. So we're doing a lot of work and a lot of energy into engineering and building our companies with a similar path.
On today's special segment, we have Aydin Senkut of Felices Ventures. Aydin, can you talk about sectors or trends that you're bullish on?
Yeah, there are a couple of things that we're really excited about, and maybe I'll only touch a few to be respectful on time. I spent the last kind of 18 months, let me pick Frontier and Reinvention. On Frontier, the thing that we're really excited about, I would say 3 areas: extending human life and health span, mental health. Mental health is an area that I think we have seen in the health sector that very little money is going into it. And while every aspect of physical health is instrumented, mental health is not. There is no checkup for mental health, and yet we have some of the highest levels of anxiety and depression of our times, maybe of many generations. And longevity is really important because it's not a vanity thing. If you look at all the big health problems we're trying to solve, cancer, Alzheimer's, all of that, they're all diseases of aging. So if we were to fix aging as a meta cure, that could be the big thing that make us resistant to all these other things that we're trying to fix, and spending probably some of the largest part of our GDP and some of the most negative impact we had on humanity. So that's kind of a little bit on the frontier, and maybe I'll add engineered food to that, because we also have kind of a little bit of a food epidemic right now that I think our food supply is contaminated. We can't get healthy food. People are getting obese at rates that we've never seen before. So I think being able to engineer healthy food at scale is a very big problem that I think is very worthy of solving and will create amazingly successful companies. On the reinvention side, we're very, very eager to find companies in cyber insurance and infrastructure. I think everything is being reinvented for cloud. So any aspect of technology that's kind of reinventing existing old markets for the cloud age is obviously of importance to us, but cybersecurity, I mean, we're seeing over and over again that we now have nation states. What we used to be like a couple individual hackers. Now we have countries that are literally using all their resources on hand to go after countries that are going after companies that have, sensitive IP, intellectual property, and they're targeting them with all their might. And United States is only protecting the government, but I don't think we have our national resources protecting our companies. And some of our most sensitive companies, the IP is at danger of being copied or hacked. So I cannot think of a more important trend right now. And I also think that this is one where it's never going to go out of fashion. So we're trying to find a lot of companies. I'm personally spending the most amount of time on cybersecurity and infrastructure in the last few months, especially.
On today's Investor Story segment, we have Cyan Banister of Founders Fund. Cyan, can you talk about sectors or trends that you're bullish on?
Sure. So I'm pretty bullish on AR, and I know that a lot of people have turned a little bit cold on that sector because the Apple announcement of, AR Kit and AR Core coming out with Google, and, Magic Leap hasn't put out their glasses yet. A lot of people are just like, there seems to be so many different false starts where adoption just isn't taking off. Same thing with VR. But I do think that we are just around the corner from a huge transformational shift in how computing and how interfacing with the world will take place. And I still maintain that I don't believe that it takes a wearable in order to make this happen. I think there's a perfect lens to this invisible world that exists on our phone. And a lot of people are just like, well, why hasn't it taken off then? And part of the reason is that people haven't been good storytellers. Like if you look at the apps that are available in the App Store, there's like the number one app or whatever in the AR App Store is something called Follow Me Dragon. And then there's like Little Hungry Caterpillar. And the problem is that you play with it and it's novel. And as soon as you shut the app, it goes away and it doesn't remember you. Part of that is a combination of either laziness or not enough capital to hire engineers to build those types of experiences. I'm not really sure which. But imagine if the caterpillar remembers you and you leave off at a really interesting spot and you come back and the caterpillar asks you how your day was and then tells you how its day was. And then you tell each other stories. That's when it starts to get really interesting. I think that we haven't gotten to a point where AR is inexpensive enough to where storytellers in Hollywood could make experiences that are really meaningful. We're getting close. There's not really an Envision. There's something called Torch, which is probably the best I've seen, and I'm tracking them. But there's really not like an Envision for 3D and for AR, where people can mock up really inexpensive AR experiences and apply stories to them that are non-technical. And I think until we get there, it's going to be really difficult for this to take off because it takes a certain amount of artistic ability and storytelling that is unprecedented in the tech industry.
That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Also, if you'd like updates on new content from TFR, as well as the top 10 VC articles every week, go to fullratchet.net and sign up for the newsletter. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.